Hello, good morning. This is Naz from NB Network Lessons. Hope everyone's doing okay and in high spirits. Today, topic of discussion under physics is what the heck is equilibrium? I'm sure all of the high school students and college students have come across equilibrium. So, equilibrium in terms of, you can define equilibrium in common sense, and then you can define equilibrium from physics perspective. So from general perspective, let's say you want to define what equilibrium is. So equilibrium is a steady state. Okay, when you have an object or a particle, you know, which is in motion, comes to a steady state. Okay, that is called equilibrium in general knowledge. So let's say if you are basically you have a cup of coffee, you go ahead and mix some cream in there, you mix some sugar in there, and you stir it, right? You keep on stirring it. Eventually, everything's going to settle down, and there is not going to be any motion, circular motion, or any sort of motion. So that state is known as equilibrium from general perspective. However, in terms of physics, what equilibrium means is that net forces, net forces applied on an object are zero. So, for example, I have this marker right here, right? I move this marker is going basically back and forth, back and forth. Eventually, it's going to settle down. So, basically, what this means is that the force which is being applied this way and the force which is being applied this way, the net force is zero. In other words, these forces are equal. Okay. So that is basically the definition of what an equilibrium is in physics. Okay. So uh, let's see. So when the forces are balanced, as I just explained you, we classify that as an equilibrium state. Now, another thing is that, you know, let's say, for example, let me give you an example of uh, equilibrium. Have you ever seen an anchored bridge? Anchored bridge is, you've got basically ropes tied up from on the left, on the right, in the middle. Okay. So that basically is an equilibrium state because your bridge is basically constant. All the forces which are being applied vertically, horizontally, left, right, everything balances out and net force is zero. So your bridge is stationary. Another example would be, let's say if I put this duster right here, okay, on this book, it's not moving, right? So this is basically equilibrium. A car which is parked and it's stationary, that's an equilibrium state. So these are the examples of what an equilibrium is. Now let's go ahead and look a little bit deeper. So let me go ahead and draw two columns. Let's say this is at rest and this is motion in motion with constant velocity. Okay, we've already touched base what velocity is, what acceleration is in my previous lessons. So let's say you go ahead and draw a car right here. I'm going to go ahead and draw a car right here. This is a motor vehicle. Okay, and this motor vehicle is at rest. In other words, it's not moving. So the force which is being applied in this direction, let's say if this is F1, and the force which is being applied in this direction, F2, okay, or if you have a force which is F3 right here, and you have F4 right here, okay. So basically, if you recall Newton's second law of motion, force is equal to mass into acceleration, if you recall. So basically, the net forces in this case I'm going to go ahead and draw net forces is going to be equal to 0. All right. So that is basically when your body is in rest. Now, let's say you have a train, right? And you're sitting in one of the cars in the train, and this train is moving, let's say, at velocity of 100 meters per second. Okay. And you are inside this car right here. Okay. So, my question to you is that you think you are in equilibrium state when you are in a car, in a train, which is moving at velocity of 100 meters per second or 100 miles per second? Yes, that is correct. Because if you think about it, the train is moving, okay? You're inside the train, sitting in the dining car, having your dinner, but you're not moving. You're stationary, right? So, with respect to train, moving train, your velocity, you're not moving, right? You're basically stationary. So that is also known as state of equilibrium. Okay. So uh, just wanted to touch base on that and basically kind of like explain you that what equilibrium means. Hopefully, I've clarified that what equilibrium means. In my next section, I'm going to go ahead and discuss a little bit of Newton's second law of motion, that how that law applies, because that is the law which is mostly used when you solve equilibrium problems. So we're going to go ahead and elaborate on Newton's second law of motion, and also we're going to solve a equilibrium problem. So stay tuned for that. I'll see you next time. Take care of yourself. Bye bye.